You know, as spring approaches, I start to think about buying locally from farmers. That's a subject that we explore next on NewsNite. CSAs, Community-Supported Agriculture, and Farmers Market. That's coming up on NewsNite. I'm glad you're here with us for this edition of NewsNite. I'm Jody Miller. You know, about this time of the year, I start to get antsy for spring. I want to be out in the garden and growing things. So this is a good opportunity to examine perhaps a growing, pun intended, phenomenon, not only regionally but around the country. It's a direct connection between local farmers and consumers. And to that end, we wanted to welcome some guests here who could talk to you about consumer-supported agriculture, CSAs, or farmers markets. And so we welcome Beth Knorr, who is, in fact, she's been a farmer with Crown Point Ecology Center for years. She was, and she is now Farmers Market Manager for Countryside Conservancy. And Chris Norman, Executive Director of, in fact, Crown Point Ecology Center, which is the, correct me if I'm wrong, the one of the oldest continuing CSAs in Northeast Ohio.
Northeast Ohio, that's right.
Well, welcome, both of you. I'm looking very forward to this program.
Thanks for having us.
A lot of information here that we can give to our viewers. But I want to start with maybe the kind of changes that we're seeing in terms of eating patterns and buying locally. And how did the whole buying local and supporting local farmers come about?
Well, I think over recent years we've seen, a big change in our diet and our eating patterns. We've had traditionally lived seasonally and ate seasonally and things close to the source. But over the past 50 or so years, we kind of got away from that, started purchasing more processed foods and that kind of thing. And I think we've started to see the health ramifications of that. And, because we were buying more processed foods, we stopped thinking about where our food was coming from, how the weather patterns are affecting the production. So I think this whole trend of purchasing locally is trying to get people more in touch with where their food actually does come from. It comes from farmers, it comes from the soil, and helping to build those relationships back up. It just helps create healthier communities to know who's growing your food and how it is being grown. So we're seeing, like you said, national and regional support, a groundswell of support for this kind of movement.
Buying local?
Buying local, yeah. I mean,
growing
locally, learning about it. I mean, I think that, to Beth's point, a lot of what we're experiencing in local purchasing, specifically around food, also is reflected in people's awareness as far as land use issues. Northeast Ohio really has sprawled out while the population has stayed the same or slightly declined. Our land use has increased as far as non-farm use, so we're building on prime soils, et cetera. So farms and farm communities have really been under siege. And I think that for those of us that are not connected to the farms, you maybe go back a generation or two, and those stories are still there, going to Grandpa's farm, that kind of thing. And so the interest in buying local is a way for people to, I think, get back to their roots and also support sustainability of land use and then the personal health. Because whether it's spinach or you've got eggs, or there's all kinds of food scares that have happened. Well, at farmers markets, at CSAs, you know where the food comes from, you meet the grower, that connection, and there's really a whole sort of approach to personal well-being and community well-being, and it's pretty exciting, really.
Well, and that's what I want to talk about, is that direct connection, because as I understand, there's almost like two ways of buying locally, and that would be the CSAs, the community-supported agriculture, or it would be through farmers markets. So let's start with the CSAs. Describe for our viewers, what is a CSA?
Okay, sure. Well, either Beth is certainly qualified for sure. Okay, so community-supported agriculture. It is a direct marketing model. It's a way for people to support a local farm. They buy a share of the harvest at the beginning of the season. So right now, subscriptions are going out. People are sending in their dollars to buy a share of the upcoming harvest. For Crown Point, the main share is June through October. The farmers get the money up front at the beginning of the season in the winter. They use the money to purchase seed, fertilizer, repair equipment, hire staff, etc., and have the planning. The shareholders, right, what they get is through June through October, every week they come to the farm and they get a share of what's in season. So if the tomatoes do well, you'll get a lot of tomatoes in your share.
Okay.
If the zucchini doesn't do so well, you're not going to get too many zucchini.
The zucchini always does well.
Well, you're right. You know, that's right. Although squash, for us last year, not so good. A lot of times farms will work together so that your share can represent not just from one farm, but a couple farms. So if the zucchini doesn't do well in one place, you get it from another. But the shares are typically enough to feed 4 adults, a family. But again, the value, the farmer, for the value, they get the money at the beginning of the season, before the drought, before the flood.
To buy the seed.
Et cetera. But for the family, if they were to go buy the same amount of produce at the grocery store or even at the farmer's market at times, they would pay a little more. So, for example, for us, typically $500, $575 share. Last year we track everything. If they had gone to the farmer's market, they would have paid $700. Now,
for what they got?
In general. But again, whether it's CSA or it's farmers markets, you can't go wrong.
Right.
You know where your food comes from. So we encourage people, please connect, whether it's CSA or farmers markets or any other way possible.
Right. Well, the nice thing about CSAs is you are building that direct relationship with an individual farmer. You're investing in that farm, essentially, and your share distribution comes in the form of food as opposed to, income growth. But it's a really great way to feel connected to a place, to learn, what's happening with that farm, what are the challenges that farm is facing. Last year we had, the past 2 years have just had crazy weather patterns. We were very, very dry for the early portion of the season last year, and then we finally got some rain, and so things seemed to equal out. But the year before that, it was just so wet that farmers couldn't get into their fields. So I think, building those direct relationships, whether it's through CSAs, supporting a community-supported agriculture program or shopping in a farmer's market, you get to see that firsthand and how that affects our food production.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, aren't there like 2 different kinds of CSAs where you can have a subscription or a shareholder? Is there a difference there?
Well, not really. I mean, there are all kinds of different CSA models. And the traditional CSA model is, one farmer and one group of consumers where those customers, support that individual farm. The farmer kind of determines what goes into the share. But there are all kinds of different models, riffs on CSAs, if you will, where it's, a cooperative of growers that are able to reach a larger number of customers, or just a small partnership between a couple of farms like Chris was mentioning. There are also not really CSAs, but similar like local food distribution models that are, you're still paying weekly or paying a flat fee up front, but you're getting from multiple places and not just farmers, but also local food producers.
It's terrific because the record keeping for the CSA, and also the public relations, if you will, is another art. So somebody who can participate in a cooperative, I think about Cuyahoga Family Farms, for example. That's great because those farmers can do what they do well. They can share the administrative responsibilities, and yet the families, those local families, are supporting local farmers. They're getting fresh food. It can be vegetables, in our case. It can also have cheese, eggs. It can have meat, CSAs. It's a whole variety. I mean, it's just like anything. Variety is the spice of life. Well, you can find that in local food.
That's very true with CSAs. Yeah. And I do want you to hold that thought, because what we're going to do is we're going to take this discussion over to NewsNite.net. That's NewsNite, NITE.net, and continue talking a little bit more about CSAs.
For more NewsNite content, including extended discussions, full interviews, and the chance to speak your mind about the issues, join us online at NewsNite.net.
We are continuing our discussion about buying local and the direct connection between a farmer and a consumer. And what we're going to do now is talk about farmers markets. So it might be self-evident, but Beth, tell me what's the difference between a CSA and a farmers market?
Well, a CSA, you're joining, you're becoming a member of that farm, essentially. So you're paying your money up front, and then you just show up every week at your designated pickup space to pick up your produce. Farmers markets, it's much more of a shopping experience. You go, we work with, over 60 independent business owners, farmers, food producers, cheese makers, poultry, folks, people who raise poultry and meat and that kind of thing. And so you're shopping at individual businesses who all come at a designated time, and you get to choose what it is that you want to purchase there.
What are the kind of farmers markets that are available now through the Countryside Conservancy?
So right now, Countryside Conservancy we manage 3 markets. We have, right now we're in the midst of our winter market season. We have about 2 markets every month, and we are located at Old Trail School. But we do have farmers who are extending their season with high tunnels and that kind of thing. So we do have fresh greens
Explain
and
a high
roots.
tunnel.
High tunnels is basically, they are just a structure that is, metal purlins with a sheet of plastic over top that create a little protected environment for crops to grow in. So folks can grow things like lettuce and spinach and radishes and other kinds of greens and that kind of thing, and basically just extend their season. So we're in the midst of our winter farmers market now, and we're indoors until the end of April. And then in May, we move outdoors, and we have 2 summertime farmers markets. We have one at Howe Meadow in the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and that is our larger market. We have we average about 50 vendors a week at that market. And then we also have a market in Akron in Highland Square. And we have about 20 to 25 vendors there. And it's a great neighborhood. It's such a walkable neighborhood, and it's a lot of fun to be down there. So
is the winter market Saturdays?
The winter market is Saturdays.
And so is Howe Meadow.
Yes.
Saturdays.
And the Highland Square market is on Thursday evenings from 4 to 7.
Well, and the vendors that you get for the Countryside Conservancy's farmers markets are not just farmers in the Cuyahoga Valley, correct?
No, correct. I mean, right now we have 11 operational farms in our Countryside Initiative program, which are the farms in the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. But, as much as we love those farmers, that wouldn't be much of a market with only 11 vendors. So, we go throughout Northeast Ohio and seek, what are our customers looking for? And, I love to eat this way, so I think, what can't I get that I want to have in my pantry or I want to have in my fridge that I want to cook with? And we try to bring products in that way. So, yes, there's a lot of produce, and that's, the real backer right there. It's important to have. But then we also have, like I said, poultry. We have pork. We have beef. We have bison, cheese, several different cheeses. We have fresh pasta. Yeah, it's pretty much everything you would want to eat. We have a local grower, a local certified organic grower who is doing oats, rolled oats, and barley, and flour, cornmeal. So you can get pretty much anything you need. We even have local growers that are growing ginger. So it's delicious, actually. So, yeah.
But not to jump ahead, but I know that Beth and the Countryside has done a fantastic job helping farmers come to market, get ready for market, prepare their stands, how to continue to improve, and also the access. So it's not just helping new farmers come into the marketplace and improve their service, but then helping other members of the community, other folks. I think about the EBT Access. Right. A pioneer right here in the Akron area on helping people who otherwise wouldn't have access to use their SNAP cards, the old food stamp system, to buy shares, help farmers engage in that kind of social justice. A real pioneer right here. I mean, we're proud of it.
Now, how many people might you get on any given Saturday at Howe Market?
At Howe Meadow, we average around 1,100 people a week at Howe Meadow.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So it is profitable to be a farmer and to set up at these farmers markets.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And, when we first started our farmers markets back in 2004, we didn't start till June. We ended at the end of September. Mm-hmm. And now, we are going year-round. We do have farmers who are extending their season long enough that we have some fresh produce all year round, which is really pretty fabulous. Now, you have to moderate your expectations. This is Northeast Ohio. Last winter, we didn't really have a winter, so we had people pulling things in from the fields like cabbages and that kind of thing almost all winter long. This year, that's not really the case. We've had some very, very deep cold snaps, so the produce is definitely being affected more this year, but we still have it. So.
And farmers markets are a growing phenomenon throughout the state, are they not?
They are.
Okay. What are some of the best practices for a farmer's market?
Well, some of the best practices are to be producers only, and that's what we are at Countryside. So
explain that.
What producers only means is that our farmers and our food producers are making the food themselves. They are not buying food from Indiana or Michigan or wherever and reselling at the market. They are the growers. And, our pasta makers, they're the people who are making the pasta, and we encourage them to purchase flour from local farmers and that kind of thing. So it's a very strong emphasis on producers only. Educating our customer base, showing them how to cook with some of the more unusual items that you will find there. We do cooking demonstrations all the time. We teach people how to preserve things, but also, as Chris was mentioning, making sure that we're accessible to everyone in the community. So we instituted our food assistance program back in 2008, I believe, where we began to be able to accept the SNAP card at the markets. And so, everyone in our community can participate. It's not, I know farmers markets sometimes have this stigma of being elitist, but that's not really the case. I mean, it's really accessible to all.
What about, and I wanted to ask about the difference between natural and organic. Okay, so how does that figure into either a CSA or a farmer's market?
Well, regardless of the farm, whether you're at the farmer's market or you're wholesaling or you're with a CSA, organic has a certification. There's a national certification. There's a third party that inspects the organic farm every year. There's an audit that happens as far as all the inputs, the record keeping, et cetera. All natural, there's no such thing. Now, if you're a small producer, you can be organic without, and it's a very small producer. You can be organic without that inspection, but that the reason for the inspections, and there's a national standard, is to help the growers that are following that process. There has been historic value added, so I can get typically more for organic fruit or vegetables than I can for non-organic. Okay. But I would say, while Crown Point is certified organic and proud of it, I would encourage people to buy local. So
regardless of
organic or not.
Well, and I mean,
please weigh in.
To jump in, you don't have to choose. You can get local and organic. So I think that's kind of a false dichotomy there. We can buy local and organic, and like Chris said, there is no standard for natural, so anybody can slap that label on their product. So.
Okay. And I do want to continue this discussion about natural or organic and fertilizers and pesticides and that kind of stuff. And that will be on NewsNite.net.
On NewsNite.net, we cover a broader range of topics than we can on the air in 27 minutes. Join us online at NewsNite.net.
We are back for our final segment of Newsnight. And regardless of whether you get your food from and your fresh locally grown produce from a CSA or a farmer's market, there are a couple of aspects of this whole process that both are involved with. And what I'd like to ask you both about is maybe some of the intangibles about buying from a CSA or buying from a farmer's market that, obviously you get good produce and you get good food and it's fresh, but what are some of the other intangibles? Because they're just, it's a wonderful feeling, and I want people to get excited about it.
Definitely. Well, I would say for those that are coming to the farms to pick up for the CSA, for example, there's that intangible of going and seeing where your food is grown, of having that story, as we talked about before, the story with the produce that was grown, seeing how things are going in the crops. There's typically a newsletter associated with the CSAs, and we send ours out every week with recipes, et cetera. So you have, again, that background, what's happening with the food. But the best part is the eating, being able to share, and fresh is better for you. So, that connection, that's some intangibles, I would say, that of the story, et cetera, that people have.
Yeah, and I think really just when you shop at the farmer's market, it's not like checking out at the grocery store, it's a total experience. You're getting to know those farmers, you're swapping recipes with the farmers, and who knows better how to fix it right, but the farmers. And so sharing those stories, being out and bumping into your neighbors, sitting there in our beautiful Cuyahoga Valley National Park, having a fresh croissant, some locally roasted coffee, and, it's just fantastic. So it's just really a lot of fun. I mean, shopping can be fun, I guess.
The relationships and stuff. Well, one of the things I do want to talk about, because I read about shared risk. So how does that impact the people who are participating in this? Shared risk being, if the broccoli's good this year, we share in that.
Abundance. Well, for us, we've seen in the last 3 years, we've seen 2 droughts. In the middle year, 2011, it was a record rainfall and flooding that happened. Well, there's the shared risk. Some years certain crops aren't going to come in, whether it's because of an early frost or drought or flood. There's going to be a shared risk there. For the CSAs, as I say, the farmers are getting paid in the beginning of the season. We take it very seriously. So we do everything we can to ensure that there's going to be a shared benefit for people. But I think that's when you say shared risk, that's typically what we're referring to. Yeah.
What about the use of volunteers for both of your organizations? Do farmers markets rely on volunteers? I know Crown Point relies on volunteers.
Yeah, we have some spectacular volunteers at the farmers market. I mean, people who show up, when it's still dark at 6:30 in the morning to help us put up tents, and we just have really fantastic people who come out, and it's a lot of fun. And we are eternally grateful for our volunteers who help us do that. We couldn't do it without them.
They make it work.
Yeah.
Same with Crown Point, obviously.
Oh, clearly, and I don't refer to our shareholders as volunteers. There is a work requirement, a standard share. You have 1 3-hour shift that you put in, but it's probably the best 3 hours of work you'll ever put in because you're out there harvesting food again, visiting with your other shareholders, in the barn as we're washing produce. So the music's playing, and again, it's just that it's very real. I mean, this is where life begins or really continues, and that shared experience. So,
what about extra food? I mean, obviously, if you have a really good harvest, what do you do with the extra food?
Well, you guys have a bunch of programs to put on as far as canning and drying and freezing too, right?
We do teach people how to can and freeze and dry. So we're encouraging our customers to buy in bulk from the farmers. So hopefully they're not going home with a truckload of stuff. But we have worked with some local food pantries, and farmers have donated to those in the past, and we've kind of helped coordinate that a little bit. But I mean, Crown Point really has the most robust program around.
From the beginning, I mean, as far as it's not extra food. We grow it to give away.
Specifically to be donated to?
Well, a couple of area agencies. I mean, one is that little food pantry that we call the Akron-Canton Regional Food Bank, right? The sisters began the Crown Point with the intent of sharing the space. And so when they started growing produce in mass in 1997, we donated 4,000 pounds of organic produce to the Akron-Canton Regional Food Bank. We continued then with the CSA in 98, but typically every year we're donating 15,000 pounds or so to help feed those in need. We couple that with education programs. We're looking at ways to empower people to learn to cook that food, establish gardens on site. So it's not just giving food away. We're looking to bridge that so that we can really build community and self-reliance. But I think we're the only organic farm, growing food to give away, and we're proud of it.
Yes, yes. And when you said sisters, you meant the sisters?
Dominican Sisters of Peace.
Dominican Sisters of Peace.
They're our founding. We are a ministry of. Now we're a separate 501c3, and the sisters expect Northeast Ohio to support this little farm in doing what it's doing. But the sisters did what nobody else could do. They started it.
Exactly. Is this whole concept? Because I've seen your mottos and some of your slogans about "Don't buy food from strangers."
Yeah. I love that.
Is this really catching on?
I think so. Yes. I mean, we see our customer base growing every year. When we started in 2004, we were averaging 300 customers a week. It's just really, and now with our 2 markets a week, our Saturday market is right around 1,100, and our weeknight market is around 600. People a week, so we're getting close to 2,000 people every week, and yes, it's definitely growing, and I love actually when I see the little kids wearing the T-shirts that say "Don't buy food from strangers." I mean, that's just such a hoot, but.
We've got about 2 minutes left. So, Beth, I want to give you an opportunity to maybe tell our viewers some of the things that are coming up in March and April and May for Countryside Conservancy.
Yeah, we have a lot of exciting things going on this year. We always do educational classes for farmers. We have monthly webinars. We conduct a class called Exploring the Small Farm Dream. So for people who are really curious about what it would mean to become a farmer, can take that class and figure out, is that really for me? company. So we are doing those again this year. But new for us this year are two different things. We have a local food Akron networking group, and that just met actually Monday night, and that's every Monday, the first Monday of the month, right here in downtown Akron at Crave. And then we're also doing food swaps, and a handful of communities across the country have started doing this. And if you like to bake, or if you like to can, or like to make homemade marshmallows or whatever, you bring your products to this swap, and you trade other people for things that they have made. So, last time I brought a bunch of pickled onions and went home with a whole slew of, I had mustard, I had scones, I had, somebody brought guanciale. So, it's just all kinds of wonderful things. Yeah.
Unfortunately, you've got 30 seconds. Give us an infomercial on Crown Point.
Well, Crown Point. So, a farm and education center. We have an ecology discovery program that we've launched this spring. It's winter and spring. One thing we're really excited about, in addition to our Summer Farm Science Camp, and you can sign up for that online. That's June through July for youth day camp. But our Earth's First Musicians, and that's going to be April 7th. And so we're hoping folks will come out and learn about songs in nature from birds and insects and how that applies to our well-being.
Chris, thank you so much.
Thank
Beth,
you,
thank you
Jody.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. On our website, we will have links to both Crown Point and Countryside Conservancy. Good night.